A woman died and returned to life with a message for humanity. Anita Moorjani was born to Indian parents in 1959 in Singapore. While living and working in Hong Kong, she was diagnosed with stage 1 Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2002 and subsequently refused all conventional treatment. In months and years that followed, Moorjani experimented with various alternative healing practices, but to no avail. She was eventually taken to a hospital in 2006, where she remained in a coma for 30 hours, during which she claims to have had a near-death experience, NDE, and then came back to life. Essentially, it seems to describe an out-of-body experience with observations and awareness of the natural environment. At some point, she came back from the coma. Moorjani's tumor shrunk by about 70% within 4 days, and within 5 weeks, she was cancer-free and out of the hospital. However, she had to spend a few months doing physical therapy to regain the strength and restore all of her weakness of the muscles and limbs. The oncologist, hematologist T.K. Chang, who treated Moorjani in the critical stage of her illness, attributed her recovery to her lung being drained by specialists after she was admitted to the hospital, followed by chemotherapy, which she had refused for 4 years. Chan said, "With lymphoma, it's never too late, and Hodgkin's disease is quite curable. It can have a dramatic response to chemotherapy," he said. Anita Moorjani, who is now the author of her experience and what she took from it, with the bestseller Dying to Be Me, My Journey from Cancer to Near Death to True Healing, and in a video entitled Dying to Be Me, Anita Moorjani. It's on YouTube. Now, first describes to us what happened to her during her hospitalization, in particular when she was in a coma. She passed into another dimension, she says. Finally, she tells us about the 5 most important things she learned from this experience and wants to spread them to everyone because they concern all of humanity, she claims. The out-of-body near-death experience, she said, "I should have died February 2nd, 2006. For 4 years, this disease has consumed my body. It had passed through my lymphatic system. It started with a lump on my neck and then spread all over my body. On February 2nd, 2006, I fell into a coma," she says. "The doctors had said that these were my last hours. My family was told that if there was anyone who needed to see me before I died, this was the time. However, unbeknownst to everyone around me, even though I appeared to be in a coma and my eyes were closed, I was aware of everything that was happening around me," she says. "I knew my husband was upset, but he was by my side holding my hand. I knew everything the doctors were doing, putting tubes in me, draining fluid from my lungs so I could breathe easier. I had knowledge of everything that was going on. I felt like I had a 360-degree peripheral vision. I could see everything happening around my body, but not only in the room where my body was, but beyond. It was as if I had expanded out of my body," she explains. And she says, "I was aware of my physical body. I could see it lying there in that hospital bed, but I was no longer attached to that body. I felt like I could be everywhere at the same time. I was seeing my brother who was in India while my body was in Hong Kong. My brother was in India and was running to get on a plane to come to see me before I took my last breath. I knew this. I felt like I was with him. I also realized my father and my best friend, both of whom I had lost, they were both deceased, but I became aware of their presence with me, as if they were guiding me and communicating with me. One thing I felt in this amazing state was as if I was in a realm of clarity where I understood everything. I felt like I was connected to everyone, to all the doctors who treated me, the nurses, my husband, my mother, my brother. I felt like we all shared the same consciousness. I felt like I could feel what they were feeling. I could feel the anguish they felt. I could feel the resignation of the doctors. I felt like my father was trying to communicate to me that it was not my time, that I should return to my body. At first, I did not want to return to this sick and dying body. I would be a burden on my family. There was no good reason to go back, so I didn't want to go back. But in the next moment, I felt like I fully understood that if I chose to return to my body would heal very, very quickly. And so at that moment, I made the decision to return. And it was in those moments that I woke up from the coma. And my family was so relieved to see me. And the doctors couldn't explain it. But I knew I would be fine. Within 5 days, the tumors in my body had shrunk by 70%. After 5 weeks, I left the hospital to go home. I was completely cancer-free, she says. And she says, as you can imagine, my life is completely different now. My view of the world changed. This experience changed my view of our physical bodies, my physical body illness, and how I perceive the world. It was very difficult for me to reintegrate into life after this experience. 5 things everyone should know, she says. I'd like to share with you the 5 biggest lessons I learned from this experience. Love, that's number 1. And when I say love, I don't just mean loving other people. One of the things I learned is that one of the reasons I got cancer is because I did not love myself. This is very important. When we love ourselves, we value ourselves. When we value ourselves, we teach people how to treat us. When you love yourself, you don't find the need to control or bully other people, nor do you allow others to control or bully you. So loving yourself is just as important as loving everyone else. And the more you love yourself, the more love you should give to other people. Number 2, the next biggest lesson I learned was to live life fearlessly. Most of us have been raised on a diet of fear. We have been taught to fear everything. I used to be afraid of everything. I was afraid of cancer, was afraid of eating the wrong foods. I was afraid of displeasing people. I was afraid of almost everything. I was afraid I would fail. Most of us grow up afraid of everything. People think fear keeps you safe. This is actually not true. Love keeps you safe. When you love yourself and when you love other people, you make sure you keep yourself safe and keep others out of harm's way. Love keeps you much safer than fear. The third thing I learned is how important humor, laughter, and joy are. We are born knowing these things. We are born knowing that it is important to laugh because that is what children do all the time. We are born knowing love and fearlessness, but they depend on us as we grow. Laughter is very important. Humor and finding your joy in life is more important than any other mental activity you can think of. In fact, if we laughed more, if even our politicians learned to laugh, we would have a very different world. And if we laughed more, you'd have fewer people with illnesses, you'd need fewer hospitals, and you'd need fewer prisons too. The fourth thing I learned is that life is a gift. It really is. Most of us live our lives as if they are a chore, but it does not have to be. It's sad that it's only when we lose something we value that we truly realize its true value. It took me losing my life to realize the value of my life. And I don't want other people to make the same mistake. So I'm standing here and sharing my message because I don't want people to realize the value of their lives when it's too late. Your life is a gift. Even the challenges that come your way are a gift. When I had cancer, that was the biggest challenge I could ever have. But today, when I look back, I feel like it's the greatest gift I could have. People, even me, thought that cancer kills, but I was actually killing myself before I got cancer. So the experience of my illness saved my life. All your challenges are gifts, and if you're really facing a challenge and it doesn't seem like a gift, it means you haven't reached the end yet. The fifth and final thing I learned is that most important thing for you is always be yourself. Be as you can, shine your light as bright as you can, embrace your uniqueness. Just realize who you are, know who you are, love yourself unconditionally, and just be yourself. And with these 5 things, I invite you to live your life fearlessly. I've translated this for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.